Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Yeboah Quarkume. To start, as the slides come up, I will begin by first saying that it's chilly in the room, so we're going to do some stretching. I am a professor, so I like to engage with my students. The first thing I'll say is, if you believe and can imagine a world where there's clean and no toxic drinking water, please raise your hand. If you can imagine a world where there's clean and no toxic drinking water, all right? Okay, raise the other hand if you believe and can imagine a world where there's no infant mortality. Okay. All right. Then the last question, please stand up and stretch. If you believe you can imagine a world where there's no breast cancer. Feels good. So I truly believe that if we're able to imagine, right, and be able to model these situations we're looking for, we need to be able to collect data on some of the most at-risk and marginalized communities. And we have yet, as a community outside of this room, right, put enough effort to be able to make those impacts possible. So at Howard University, with the support of Mastercard, data.org, we have started our own a Master Data Science program where we're focused on social justice and social impact. And that literally involves us having a exploratory, courageous, and confident imagination to pull these data points not only inside of our rooms, but also in our faculty and also online, because it's an online program, right? So our program allows students to engage from across the continent, the Caribbean, the US, South America, Europe, one. Two, our faculty. We invested in faculty who come from English, who come from data science, who come from mathematics, who come from communications, who come from computer science, who come from spatial analysis. We believe that we need to have people outside of the tech space engage in solving, unfortunately, the problems that tech has created, right? We believe that you can't do the same thing, right, over and over again and expect a different result. So to truly make impact, we have created this cluster hiring, innovative way to make an impact. And then go to content, right? We know that there are ways in which, hopefully 10 years down the line, my daughter will come here and the great-granddaughters of the internet will look like her, unlike the fathers, right? But that takes us investing in the sense of keeping the human loop in the conversation of AI and tech and the internet, right? So institutions like Howard University, we have students who come from different parts of the world, across gender, across sexuality, across class, right? Across many spectrums, engaging in data science, right? So right there, we know that we have no barriers. We have students who come from a non-STEM background, and we try our best to kind of lift them up, to be able to scale up, to have them have the skills, right? And when we bring these people into the space, the first slide that I had one of our scholar students, she herself was facing breast cancer, all right? And her research now is using data to find solutions for Black women, right, with that disparity. So having her in our classroom, right, I was also the second picture. That was me. We know in DC and DMV, maternal health is an issue, right? So my daughter was also in the class, in the Zoom room, the pink dot, that's her. And we have students who are 50, 30, in their 20s, right, bringing their content air, which is themselves, to the study with research scholars who look like the field we want to model, right? And we're creating a community, which creates a safe space for people to kind of continue to have a stronger conversation. So I want to engage you all and thank you all in this room for standing, right? But I encourage us to bring more people in the room for us to truly make an impact, for our spaces to continue to have that human loop and for continue to grow. So I'll pass it on to David, who's also been a great mentor in my my one-year-old data science journey. David, yes.
Thank you, Amy. I feel very inspired. Oh, I'm going to steal that from you too. To watch what has grown so quickly and so successfully in our conversation, our partnership around the development and scaling of data science. I think it's working. So I'm David Uminsky. I'm the executive director of the Data Science Institute. I'm at one of those maybe older and stodgier institutions that I've heard from this morning might need a little change, might need a little innovation. And perhaps I'm here to tell you that I also felt the same way and decided to move from a very comfortable tenured math professor role in the Bay Area to pick up on September 2020, move my family to Chicago, of a place I'd never visited, to start this. And why would I do that? Well, I heard something I had not heard yet out of the academy around data and AI. It was the acknowledgement that after 10 years of trying as an entire community of academics to train this future generation of data scientists, that maybe we had missed the mark. No matter what we had taught our students around how to code better, or think about statistical reasoning, or begin to think about ethics, what we saw was a reaction to a world that had moved past what the academy was teaching. And the University of Chicago all but said that to me. And they're like, we're not first at data science, but we have a good chance at potentially being the best. And what I heard from them was the acknowledgement that this is a brand new discipline. And when you have a discipline, you have foundational sets of questions that no one discipline is addressing on its own. 50 years ago, little people like me in mathematics departments, a couple folks in electrical engineering departments were thinking about these things called computers as its own field. And people were like, what are you talking about? We do not understand the fundamental properties of data. We do not understand the fundamental properties of the algorithms that eat data. We also have almost no idea what are the societal impacts of the work we do. Those alone are rich enough questions for us to think about as a brand new interdisciplinary community. And when I heard that, I said, finally, there's a place to think about the entirety of the data science lifecycle as its own area of study. For today, though, and given that our job is to think about, as academics, training this next generation, we are part of this frontline workers. And for us, we have an initiative at the Institute around community-centered data science. There's a lot of words up there, there's a lot of key principles. But most importantly, when we developed this field, it was acknowledged by the entire faculty, president, and provost, that if we do this in-house with our partnership with our local Southside community, globally, across governments, industry, and nationally, we will have developed a substandard effort for this university. And I was told one of the things I'm supposed to do, whatever I do, it has to be the best at the University of Chicago. So I said, great, that's what I want to come pick up and move my family to go do. And we built an effort that I'm very proud of at the moment and has been very well supported by the data.org folks here around how do we build this actual new generation of workers. So there's a subset of opportunities here. I just want to highlight one since I've already seen the analog warning. When I got here, the University of Chicago was a very storied institution in the south side of Chicago. Everyone in Chicago knows about the University of Chicago. But the people I spoke to first was our community college in Chicago. Because I knew no matter what we did at the University of Chicago, I would graduate several hundred, maybe low thousands now as it turns out, students every year in this field. But if I partner right away in building capacity with all of the community colleges, I can actually take that number and 10x it. And this room, I've heard, cares about scale and cares about transferability. And all of the programs we think about embed those particular principles. So I'll stop at this case study since I know I don't have time for the second. We said we wouldn't look at specifics, but I feel like we haven't had one good story yet. So here's our story. We brought 4 students as part of support from the data.org this summer to the University of Chicago. There's Kenethia, thank you very much, from Howard. Santiago, which is one of our own. Amir from Morehouse. And we intentionally brought people at the beginning of their data science journey. They aren't doctoral students. They aren't majors in data science, at least not yet. They had maybe had a course. So we trained them on how to attack a hard real-world data problem. You know what that problem was? Is trying to understand rural farming across the US as a test bed to understand what is the economic and environmental impacts of poultry packing, especially under the age of mergers. So if you look closely, there's an HHI index calculated. Now, to date, everyone calculates HHI indexes state and nationally. What happens if you do it by pixel? It turns out you can get an extraordinary look at how damaging this particular economy really is. And when we told the USDA about this, they said, oh my God, we've never computed that regionally. We've never computed it down to the pixel level. Everything you see there in green is completely unserved. Everything you see in red, there's a single place only to process your farming goods. And so this is the power of data science. Every one of our students, the hundreds that have gone through all of our programs, have now measured and changed their career goals as a result of these new ideas. I have lots to tell you about, but I think I'm getting the look from Arturo. So let's go take a break.